Hi, my name is Mike Boyce. I'm a developmental psychologist, and for at least the last couple of decades, I've worked with the good people at Chances on a whole bunch of different things related to early intervention programs, home visitation, parenting programs, and those sorts of things. What I'm doing today is I'm going to introduce and then present a series of modules on how to conduct or how to facilitate virtual group sessions. The focus here is on parent or parenting programs, and given current circumstances, how to set up and run those sorts of programs and the sessions that are involved in a virtual format using something like Zoom or Skype or whatever. So that's what we're going to be focusing on. Here's an overview of what the different modules are going to cover. The first one is going to provide a little bit of context for why there's much more interest and focus on virtual anything these days. And a lot of it goes without saying, has to do with the issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic, issues that have made it basically impossible to have face-to-face connection with the parents and the families that our programs are helping and working with. So we need to find some other ways to proceed. Now, we've actually seen a fair bit of work over the last 10 years on how to take an awful lot of things that have been done in face-to-face format and to find ways to, at least for part of the time, make them available in an online format. Initially, usually because of geographical distances and things like that, making it difficult to kind of get around and provide home visits over a large area and those sorts of things. Obviously, our interest in this has jumped up dramatically in the last few months and will likely continue into the, well, perhaps forever, but certainly into the immediate future. So I'm going to spend a little bit of time in the first module simply talking about the context of COVID-19 and the impact it's had on everybody. And that'll provide a bit of a context for what the rest of the modules are going to talk about. The second module, show it here, is entitled as Connecting with New Parents, Old Stuff and New Stuff, and there I'm going to extend the context that I'm going to talk about in the first module to talk a little bit about things that one needs to be considering at a general level when trying to engage with new parents or prospective parents, people who are about to become parents, to help them essentially make the transition, developmental transition, to becoming parents. So I'm going to talk a little bit about what those of you who work with parents and parenting programs know a whole lot about, and that is kind of where parents are at or where they need to be at and how that process goes. And then we're going to spend a little bit of time thinking about how we might address the kind of general needs and issues and concerns that people who are about to become parents have in a virtual presentation environment. So we'll talk about that again to kind of do a little deeper kind of stage setting for what we're going to be talking about in the later modules. The third module is going to focus in on technical matters. So the business of how you prepare to do kind of a version of what I'm doing right now, which is connecting with you in an asynchronous or a semi-synchronous virtual method or way. Obviously, when we're talking about virtual group sessions, we're talking about group sessions that are happening in real time, but in which the people aren't in the same room. So it's being facilitated through some sort of technology. So we'll talk about the technical matters that are involved there, a whole range of those. And then in the last module, we'll talk about virtual group sessions. And specifically, we're going to talk about how to plan your first virtual group session with a new parenting program. And then we're going to talk about the kinds of things that you need to be thinking about for every single session in a program that is going to be delivered virtually. And then we'll talk towards the end of that about how to start a session, open a session, run a session, and then wind that session up, and then write that session up. And then at the very end, we'll talk about some of the things that we're going to be doing in the near future to kind of encourage the development of a kind of community of practice around the issue of delivering parent group programs virtually, and talk a little bit about some of the supports that we're going to be able to put in place to help you with that process on an ongoing basis. So let's move on to the first module, called Life in the Time of COVID-19, to provide some of the context for what we're going to be talking about later.